Yo, check that out. How you doing, people? We are back. It's the Spurs Talk Show. We got two wonderful people with us. Johnny's laughing at himself. I'm not sure what Johnny's finding so hilarious.
I just said Lubo's on the road.
He was on the road. He's still stuck in traffic trying to get out of Tottenham from last night. Absolute nightmares. Nightmares in the world of transport around Tottenham last night. I think there was a police stop or a crash or something that redirected me away from the A10 onto the AE411, I think it was, and then got stuck behind something else. I didn't get home until very, very late. But guys, welcome to the chat, the show. It's the post-match debrief. I'm here with Johnny H3232 from Twitter fame, from Talking Tottenham 1882 on Insta and on TikTok, and of course Football Inc., which is where we are also streaming to. And we're also joined by Lubo61 from Twitter fame. The last time he and I shared a screen, all hell broke loose. We will hopefully avoid that stuff today. We're talking about cheery things, which is Tottenham's 1 foot in the final, or is it all to play for? We're going to find out how the boys felt about the game last night. Before we get into it, guys, make sure you smash a like immediately. Take your shoes off, light a ciggy, have an inhalation of your vape, whatever it is you do. We don't condone those things, even though I indulge in those things. And also, take your shoes off and put the like button in the affirmed confirmation part. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and drop some comments throughout the show, and we'll be bringing them up. Johnny, I'll start with you as always, mate. How you doing, bro? How you doing, my man?
I'm all right. I think I exerted more energy getting to the game and leaving the game than I did actually in the game. Look, it was, thank God we had an atmosphere last night. The atmosphere was tremendous. You know, if you couldn't get up for last night, you got no right to be a Spurs fan in that stadium. You know, even the most miserable person in the stadium was jumping up and down last night. And they were rewarded. You know, I've got to be honest with you. It should have been more than 3-0. The second half was a bit disappointing for me. And, you know, I thought, you know, we've got 1 foot in the semi. Now we could have 1 foot in the, 1 foot in the final. We could have 1 foot in the final. We could have 1 foot in the grave. This is how delicate it is now. Going to Bodo on the plastic pitch. They had 5 players missing last night, and their 3 best players return next week. It's not going to be easy, but with all said and done, Shawnee, it's a football pitch. They're paid vast sums of money. If the ball bounces very differently, I don't give a damn, right? At the end of the day, you got to go to Bodo like we are going, and you've got to deliver. And that's it. I don't want to hear any stories. I don't want to hear any excuses. There can be no excuses. We have to deliver for the fans, for this club in that final. Nothing else matters.
Nothing else matters, and the stakes couldn't be higher. It's wild how delicately poised it is. I put out a video last night. Lubo, welcome to the show. I put out a video last night, mate, and my initial gut reaction was deflation. I've subsequently put out the matchday vlog, and the matchday vlog tells a different story, right? All you can see for 19 minutes is me, basically losing my mind about how brilliant, the energy, the atmosphere, the kind of the way that we started. We'll get into the specifics in a minute as I bring in the chat as well to say hello to them, Lubo. But good to have you back on the show, mate. And this is a demonstration, guys. By the way, it hasn't taken us 2 months to park whatever happened the last couple of times Lubo and I have streamed together. All that stuff is like theatre. It's over and done with the second that it's done with. And Lubo, good to have you back on the stream, my man. Oh, he's dropped out. He's back in. He's coming in a different way. Oh, I thought he was frozen. Lubo, mate, I don't know how much of that you just heard, but basically I was welcoming you back into the stream. Good to have you back on the channel, my man. How are you, buddy? How are you doing? Are you still stuck in traffic trying to get out of White Hart Lane?
I am. I was accused. I came onto a show yesterday, and yesterday morning, and someone said, "You drive it to Bilbao." I said, "No, not quite." But,
mate, so, let me start with you on this one then. As we get into it, guys, make sure you do smash the likes and get over to the socials for Lubo and to Johnny as well. Johnny's just given us a kind of summary thought of where he's at with it. We're going to get into the specifics. I want to ask, the questions I have today are, Ange's tactics, the inclusion of Richie, what happened with Berghvall, and maybe one of you guys can give us some clarification, because I didn't get home until late, so I've only recently woken. But at the game, all we knew was he wasn't playing. Then apparently I'm hearing
it was in training. It was in training.
I've heard rumors. Is he out for the season? I heard he left the stadium on crutches. Like, well, where are we at with that, Johnny?
He was in a boot. I mean, he was in a boot, right? But look, the thing is, I've lost count how many injuries have occurred in training this season, due to the fact that Ange wants to replicate everything that goes on the pitch in training. No wonder we've had so many injuries. It's too intense. You've got to balance it off. Anyway, it is what it is. It's a massive blow, which is why we had a last minute change.
Yeah, I mean, and look, so I want to cover off those changes, and we'll get into that in the nitty gritty. Luba, are you still there, mate? Can you hear us at least? I know you're struggling with a bit of Wi-Fi there. Can you hear us? Oh, he's dropped off. Tell you what, I hope he comes back in. Luba, I'll bring you back in a second. Johnny, let's start with the atmosphere. Let's get down to the thing, right? So Tottenham put on, the club at least, asked everyone to wear white. You know me, I'm an independent thinker. If someone tells me to lean right, I'm going to lean left. So I wore a black shirt. Now, in reality, I only wore a black shirt because white is not suitable for my
complexion.
you know. Lubo's back. So just in balancing, Lubo, I'll start with you, mate. Welcome. I hope before you drop out again, I want to start with before we get into the nitty gritty of the game itself, mate. I want to talk about the build-up. I want to talk about the atmosphere, the fans. I mean, you were at the game. All three of us were at the game. I think it's fair to say it was the noisiest and the most consistently noisy atmosphere that I've heard going in. Afterwards, it was a little bit deflated. I felt like it wasn't quite as celebratory after the game as I've seen in other scenarios.
Yeah.
But before the game and throughout the game, up until about the 80th minute, the fans were exceptional. They all wore white apart from me. And the club put on a good tifo, and everyone in the south, in the west, north, and east fans got a flag as a memento. I think that the Tottenham fans and the club gave the team what they needed from that 12th man. Would you agree with that, Lubo, or do you want to take it in a different direction?
I do, and I think that everything was going very, very well up to the last goal in the game when they got that goal back. I think everybody was on a real high, and I'm still feel a bit flat because at 3-0, the game's nearly done. The tie's nearly done.
Yeah.
At 3-0. And unfortunately, the good work that Ange did in setting up the team much better yesterday, playing Bentancur and Bissouma together, keeping the fullbacks were overlapping for a change instead of underlapping, particularly Udogie. He played Richie just inside as an inside forward. And there was a shame because he made two big errors, Ange, which unfortunately cost us in the end. He made a tactical decision to take Richie off at the end of the first half. Absolute madness. That was the best 45 minutes at home I've seen from Spurs for a very, very long time.
Was it the best 45 minutes you've seen from Richie, though?
Yes. I thought Richie did very well. What on earth did he do taking him off?
Can I just add? Sorry, Ian, just to add to you, just for context, right? Just to say to you that Richie had to go off at half-time. You know, I'm no Ange supporter. He had some breathing issues. And if you notice, if you have a look on his feed, he's there with the oxygen mask.
Really?
Yeah.
Or was that heat-based or?
I'm not quite sure, but he ran. Look, you've got to remember, the guy's been out for months. And suddenly he's come back, he's played the 90 minutes and then he's thrown in for that 45. He gave everything. And obviously he wasn't feeling well. So just for context, Ian, because I myself, like you, thought it was very strange taking him off. Go on, sorry, mate, carry on. Oh.
Still there, Ian? Oh, Ian's having connection difficulties. Johnny, I'll come to you until Ian comes back in. Where are you at with regards the atmosphere, the pre-game?
Listen, I thought it was great. I thought our eco-friendly stadium club, the eco-friendness in the Premier League, was quite fun, considering they, you're never seeing that, handed out hundreds of plastic bags. I think they were plastic bags, weren't they, Sean?
Yeah, they were plastic bags.
Yeah, plastic bags. Tesco's and, whatever shop it may be, are trying to cut out plastic bags. Spurs handed out 17,000 plastic bags.
Yeah. Not ideal.
Yeah, so it was quite funny. I just thought listen, it looked very good. I'm only jesting. I thought the atmosphere was the best atmosphere since Spurs beat Arsenal in that crucial game under Conte to get to the Champions League place. That was the best atmosphere for me since then. And you're quite right. I thought the build-up atmosphere was fantastic, but that goal killed the atmosphere at the end. There was no jumping up and down. There was no celebratory in the aisles, because everyone knows that goal means, in essence, it's only a 2-0 lead going out there. So that was the only downside for me. I mean, apart from the injuries and that late goal, everything else was absolutely superb last night.
Was it, mate? Like, me, I thought that Bodo. Look, don't get me wrong. 3-0 up, semi-final, first leg.
I'm not saying we played well, Sean. That's where I want to kind of focus, because two things can be true at the same time. Okay, correct.
You can be in a good position, and you can have kind of modelled the game well, and Ange can do his spin and say, it was an amazing performance, and we're in a really good position. Yes, the last minute or two, the last 10 minutes were disappointing, but I think that they were so bad. And this is no disrespect to any Bodo fans, because I thought the fans were incredible. Okay? The fans were incredible. I've loved meeting loads of them. And someone asked in the comments, did Shawnee find any baddies for Bodo? The answer is yes. They were unbelievable. Oh, that's you're quite noisy there, Ian. I'm going to mute you until I bring you in, mate. But I'll bring you in a second. I thought that their team was bang average. And I thought that when Tottenham scored our first goal, surprisingly in the first minute, you get a 1-goal lead. And then, I've said this a few times now, we're supposed to be the Yid army, but at times it looked like we were the terracotta army. We were statues in that from the 5th minute until the 35th minute. It was only through a brilliant piece of work that started, I think, with Micky van der Ven's Cruyff turn, defensively under pressure, that created a bit of space, which was brave from that man. And then he pops it out to Porro, and then Porro does what Porro does, and Maddison does what Maddison does, and it was exceptional. But I'm like, we're 2-0 up here through essentially catching them asleep, and then through a brilliant piece of individual play from two players. But in the previous 25 minutes, the South Stand were getting restless. Like, why are we sitting around here? Why are we doing 4 or 5 passes between Bissouma and Bentancur?
So slow. It was so slow.
It felt like it didn't feel like we wanted to bury the tie, and we could have done. We should have won that game 5-0. But instead, we take our foot off the gas. We never got out of second gear last night, and to me, that's. You can separate the outcome from and the environment, the context of the environment, with the effort and the performance. And I thought the fans made more effort than the players did, and that to me is a little bit annoying.
Listen, I don't think the players didn't try. I can't level that at it, but I just think they had so many players out, Bodo. No, this isn't a team that's been assembled, a multi-million-pound team assembled. This is a team that's been together for a number of years, and quite honestly, should have been there for the taking. I said we were going to smash them. I was absolutely confident with their captain, Patrick Berg, missing, his midfield partner missing, their striker missing, their main centre-back missing, and their winger missing, that they were there for the taking. And conservatively, I was saying, even with Spurs playing not so great, we'll win this 3-0. And you're right. The goal went in. There was no avalanche. There was no peppering the goal only for about the first 5-10 minutes. Then we went quiet. And as you said,
and we were wasteful as well. When we did create opportunities, we were a little bit wasteful, I thought.
Well, in the second half, we definitely were. But
in the first half as well. And I
thought we just went flat. We were flat in that second half. It was like we were sat on that 2-0. And let's be honest, I thought it was quite a soft penalty. I haven't seen it on the television. I posted it on my Twitter account before the actual challenge. To me,
no Spurs fans appealed for it. There was no madness. No one appealed for it. Around me, everyone was saying, "Look at Romero. He's already wasting time." No one thought it was a pen.
No player claimed for that penalty, and I didn't think it was a penalty. So I was a bit shocked to see I posted it anyway. You can go and have a look at it on my X and see for yourself. But my point here is that it took that moment to get us back into the game. Now imagine if he hadn't won that penalty and that game had ended up 2-1. Kulu should have buried a chance late on. Tell should have buried a chance late on. And, there wasn't a lot going. I mean, we started the game with two strikers in Solanke and Richarlison, and we ended up with Matthias Tell playing the number 9, which we know he can't play. He's not a striker. He's a winger.
Yeah, look, just quickly. Checkmate, I thought you were a Tottenham fan, but apparently you're talking about you rather than us. So I'm guessing you're not. But I listen, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying that this is a post-match debrief, and there's a difference between the scoreline and the performance. There's a difference between the context of the environment and what manifested. And I think that I'm just saying that this game is wide open. This game is not done in any way, shape, or form. Manchester United are in the final. There's no chance that Bilbao, who don't have a striker at the moment, who can't, even if this was August and they could go to the transfer market, Bilbao can't buy players that are not Basque, right? So there's no chance that Bilbao are going to be able to, in my opinion, 1%, less than 1% chance. So Man United are in the final. Tottenham should be in the final. I'm just saying that level of Bodo performance last night was so weak, so poor. But next week, they have their best 3 players back. And we're playing on a 4G pitch in a cold environment. And yeah, people can point to the Frankfurt game. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying, the context of the situation here is it as good as it could have been? Johnny, is what I'm asking.
No, look, Sean, I've had all the people, I won't even tell you what they called me, my walk through out the stadium. I got all the comments, you miserable, I'm not miserable. I'm happy, right? But, I'm trying to give context here, right? 3-0 is what we needed, okay? I was over the moon we started, but we do this, you and I, right? Both here and after the game, we talk about the facts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the fact is, we scored an early goal, the crowd were up, and then they sat back. They didn't attack them. Then we got that magical moment between Porro and Maddison. Then it went flat again. Then he won a penalty. And then it went flat again. Like, we were resting on that 3-0. And we only woke up to try and do something about it when they scored their goal. They're missing their 3 best players. For Patrick Berg is their James Maddison, their Christian Eriksen. He's the guy that creates it all and makes it all happen, right? And he was missing. And their striker was missing. And their centre-back was missing. And Patrick Berg's midfield partner was missing. And all 4 should be back next week. And
all I'm saying, Johnny, we're on the same page.
We're just stating, look, guys, we're delighted we won, but we know that result makes it a little bit edgy going into that final game.
I did in the match day vlog that I published about half an hour ago that will be completely destroyed by the algorithm. Won't even put it out in front of you guys because we're doing this now, and because I put up 2 videos already this morning with Benny Kaufman and a guy called Aaron. I got more footage from the day to publish. So come back to the channel for other content as the day goes on. But look, Johnny and I are on the same page with this, that we're not unhappy, but we're both, and I want to get Lubo's take if Lubo can, if Lubo's Wi-Fi's back in.
Sean, Brian's asking, can he come on?
Yeah, of course he can. Send him the link.
Yeah. Send him the link.
Lubo, I'll come to you, mate. Like, I don't know how much you've heard, mate, because I know you're having issues, but I want to get your take, mate. Like, you were at the game. So the initial phrasing was the fans did their part. The club did their part in providing material resources to engage an atmosphere. The players did their part in getting the result that puts us in a healthy position. But could it have been better? And Johnny, I framed the question to Johnny around, we scored an unpredictably early goal, right? No one would have thought we were going to go 1-0 up in 39 seconds. And then after that, the south stand where I was sitting got increasingly restless at the fact that it just came across like we were statuesque and that we weren't really pushing for a second goal. And it was only kind of almost counter to the balance of play from a brilliant piece of work from Van der Ven, who finds Porro, and then Porro's excellence in finding what he's brilliant at, and then Maddison doing what he does brilliantly. But we're 2-0 up, but it didn't feel like we were pushing for the second. It felt like we were happy to just kind of calm everything down, which could be spun into we managed the game. But this is 2 minutes in, and you've got 4 players out from an opposition. Like, to me, we should have been pushing a little bit harder, and we weren't, and we didn't, and then we ended up getting sucker punched in the last few minutes. Lubo, what's your take, mate?
Well, I don't go on this 4 players out because these are all top professionals. So, okay, you're not talking about elite players playing in Norway. You're talking about players, and you're talking about a squad that come in, and the difference between the players, for me, is not too great. I don't think it is. It's not like you're talking about a Van der Ven situation where someone comes in for him and they're just nowhere near in terms of the pace and the recovery runs, etc., and the tackling.
Tell me that when you see Patrick Berg next week, Ian.
Sorry?
Tell me that when you see Patrick Berg next week.
No, listen, he's a good player, but if you get your tactics right, you can nullify players like that. You don't give them all the space in the world to do their stuff. I thought Bodo Glimmt had 58% possession, and they had a lot of the ball after we scored the first goal. You score in the first minute, and it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, we should be 2 up in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. There's this expectation. We've had, oh, what a great start. Let's go and hammer these guys. And that's the football fan in you. But if you think about it, you've got to manage a game. You've got 2 matches. You don't have to go gung-ho. You're 1-0 up in the first minute. We went 2-0 up in later on in the first half. Apart from that chance they had just before half-time, you go in 2-0 up. Vicario's not had a shot to save. And you're looking, you're thinking, do you know what? This is a really good position to be in. You get a third on the hour. And to me, what he should have done with 10 minutes to go, you'd lost Richie on the left. I caught what you said about breathing problems, Johnny.
Yeah.
My second point was that where Ange, I thought, went wrong was he should have brought someone like Danso on, should have brought another defender on, lock it up tight, last 10 minutes, and come away with a 3-0 win. You didn't have to chase a fourth. And we got caught, and, you come out, we've had 24 shots to their 3, 7 to their 1 on target, 13-1 in corners, 42 against 8 in terms of touches in the respective penalty areas. And you think, well, those figures show that we've dominated the game pretty much in terms of in the right areas, and we've come away just with a 2-goal lead. And I thought to myself, if we get a 4-goal.
Oh, gone again.
I was going to say the ironic thing of what Ian's saying there is that they shouldn't have chased the game, but when they scored the goal, Spurs then chased the game to try and get the 4th goal, and were nearly caught out for another goal, right? In their desperation to get the 4th, they got caught. Yeah,
I remember really 2 chances that Bodo had. The one that they scored, and then the one in the first half where Benson calls a sleep from the cross and lets his man grab a march on him.
Well, not having the striker was a bit of a, I hear what Ian's saying, but not having your number 1 playmaker and your striker and his midfield partner is significant. Whatever Ian's saying, I hear what he's saying, but I disagree with that because, they might not be in our level, but this lot have played together for a number of years. And whilst they're not outstanding as individuals, these are all very important cogs in their wheel that germ together and become a very good football team. We've seen before, a group of individuals, the Galacticos or whatever you want to call them, doesn't make them a football team. You can have lesser players that gel together that make a combined unit that can beat anybody. We've seen it. So with Leicester winning the title.
Look, I still think we'll make the final. I will. Yeah. But I was expecting, and listen, again, just not to keep promoting this or pushing it, but because the algorithm is going to bury it, go after the show, watch the, if you're interested in other fans' perspectives, then go and watch the Matchday vlog. I got a couple of Bodo fans in there that were claiming that they were happy with a 2-2, or they were happy with some sort of like draw if there's a good result for them, even a 1-goal loss. And Tottenham fans, I did the walkthrough as I got into the stadium. I did the walk up the stage and just asking people what they thought about the selection, the team selection, and the and their predicted scoreline. Everybody was saying 3-1, but everyone wanted more. It was like they expect 3-1, but they're looking for 3-0. A 3-goal lead universally was going to be accepted as like we're in the final, and that sort of puts the tie to bed, you'd hope. But at 3-1, it's edgy. And I would argue that when Bodo scored their goal, Johnny, their team and their fans celebrated it. Where I think, if I'm entirely honest, Bodo fans left that stadium probably not too unhappy.
But they left happy, sure.
Yeah.
I said before the game, all they need to do with this amount of players out is to leave that stadium still with a chance. And that's exactly what they did. That's what they did. They didn't play their usual gung-ho game. They didn't play the usual kamikaze all-out attacking football. They call it kamikaze football because they knew if they'd have played that type of football that they would have got absolutely buried. And I've got to be honest with you, they let Spurs have the ball, but they weren't like... They weren't watching Barcelona last night, was it? I mean, this is a team leagues below them, should be. With 6 injuries out, if I was playing a Premier League team with 6 injuries, 6 major injuries, I'd expect us to come out a convincing winner. I mean, all the games that we've lost, where we've had our main players out, we've had to listen to excuses why they performed badly. Well, he had his players in last night. Look, the thing is, at the end of the day, we won the game. And Sean, before the game, when we booked our tickets for Bodo, right, I said to you, what do we want? For me, I'd be happy with a 3-0 win. Go in there, we can enjoy the moment and have a great time out in Norway, right?
Yeah, now, I think some of the chat here is getting a little bit like they're forgetting that my channel is absolutely nothing like the misery loves company motif that is sent around, right? I celebrate Tottenham. I defend our owner against irrational arguments, even though it's unpopular. I try to bring balance. I try to bring on people that like Johnny, for example, that feels ultimately very differently, and especially Lubo, who's back, who feels very differently about it. This channel is about hearing all perspectives. Occasionally, we've even got a show called The Devil's Advocate where we go out of our way to disagree with each other to try to bring both sides of the coin. Like Lubo, I haven't obviously you're having problems with the connection. I don't want this to come across like we're being negative, but Johnny and I are seeing this from the same hymn sheet, which I think was universally agreeable with the people that I spoke to at the stadium after the game, that we're in a good position and it's not in any way a disaster, but I'm just saying that I felt like they were there for the taking and
Correct.
we didn't take them. And it's like,
Yes.
it's like paying for a brass in Bodo and then, and then spending your hour asking her, about her life.
What a name.
There's something else there's another part of the transaction here that needs to take place. And to me, Lubo, I didn't think we got our knickers off. What were we doing here?
I'll have to bow to your greater knowledge on subjects like that, Sean, on that one.
Hey.
Good morning, people.
What did I think? I think it was a good first half overall. Sometimes you're going to have less of the game than you would like. But 2-0 half time. Richie's gone off. There's not too much going on with producing down Johnson's side. Then Maddison went off. So all the areas, all the guys that are creating the chances, they're off the pitch. And unfortunately, the whole thing stuttered after that. So,
mate, Ian, you got to pull up somewhere, mate. You got to get yourself to a 5G reception, mate.
ET phone home. ET phone home.
away 3-1.
Yeah,
3 goals up. The tie's nearly done. And if you come back,
Ian, what are we doing here, mate? Are you in a good reception or are you in this terrible reception? Where are you, buddy? Where are you?
No, I'm trying to find a good reception where the phone doesn't overheat as well, because that's what happened last time. Yes, it's a shame. Again, another missed opportunity to put it to bed. But what worries me, if the team come out and play like they did in Frankfurt, or they come out and they play for a lot of the game yesterday, then we should go there and win. But this is Tottenham we're talking about, and this is probably the worst coach I've ever seen in 60 years of football. And he just goes on making mistake after mistake. So, I've got no trust, unfortunately, in the team. And maybe I'm scarred after years and years of underachievement. They take you up to a point and it's, and then they let you down. Just as you think, great, we've cracked it. No, Spurs let you down again. And I'm just hoping that isn't the case next week. So for me, it's unfortunately it's unnecessary, but it's a 50-50. So
yeah,
I hear you, mate. That's where I stand on it.
I hear you, buddy. Which is for the first time in the entire show, to be honest, because of connection issues. But either way, mate, you can carry on working. You're driving and find yourself a better signal. Brian, let me bring you in, buddy. How you doing, Brian? Good to see you, mate.
I'm doing good, buddy. It's a pleasure to see you, bro. Good big up to Johnny and Lubo and everyone in the chat.
Afternoon, morning, Sir Daigle. How are you?
I'm good, mate. It's not even 9 o'clock in the morning here. I've been up since 5 a.m. Saw you on. I was like, you know what? Let's come spend some time with some family on a joyous day. On a joyous day where one foot is in the final.
Brian, let me ask you then, mate. Bring the positive spin here, because apparently the chat is suggesting that Johnny and I and Lubo, less Lubo, but Johnny and I mainly are being negative, miserable bastards. Is it a joyous day?
Well, your stream's in trouble if you come to me and say, "Can you bring the positivity?" You're a sinking ship. No, I will say, do you know what? I wanted to go with a 3 or 4 goal lead to say kind of tie done. The goal does put a bit of nerves in because obviously it's only a 2-goal. We've seen what Bodo can do. But you know what? Like Eintracht Frankfurt, we had a job to do. It was get a lead, and we did it. We did it. I think the first half, you look at it, it weren't the greatest spectacles it weren't the swashbuckling football. We're 2-0 up. If anyone had said half-time, what do you want? To have a 2-goal lead, I think the biggest negative that everyone's getting from it, like you were all saying before, is they had so many players out. It was probably best to try and really, like, just say slam dunk, game over, all over. But I have to say, one of the biggest positives I took from yesterday, and I said it on We Are Tottenham TV yesterday, and I've been very critical of him. I think Yves Bissouma yesterday was magnificent. I think he was absolute. That's the Yves Bissouma that we know is in the locker, and we know that he can bring the performances out. And when we saw that lineup, I heard you talking about the lineup. We were trying to work out in the yard, was it a 4-4-2 that he's changing to? Was he going to put Richie on the left? Why has he not gone for Kulusevski and Maddison and gone all attacking? But the manager got it right. I have to say, the manager got it right. And
did he though?
I think for the result, yes. For the scoreline, possibly not. But for the result, yes.
Why did he play Richie and not? I understand. I can understand he can do what he wants, right? But like, when was the last time Richie played left winger for Tottenham? Was it under Conte?
I can't even, to tell you the truth, I can't even recall him playing on the left for Spurs. In all honesty,
he's played there quite a bit.
He's definitely played there, but not under myself.
But do you know what? His assist for Johnson's goal. I was just reading. That was Brennan Johnson's 24th goal or goal involvement, whatever the stat they call it is. That's a bloody good return. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was non-existent for the rest of the game. But
as always, though, right? As always,
yeah,
you need more from him. You need so much more from him. And I thought that Richie, absent his header, which was very unselfish and very, very clever. Absent that, I don't think he did anything. I think he wasted chances.
I'm inclined to agree. Well, Lubo's gone again. But yeah, listen, the way I'm looking at it, like I said, 3-1 in the first leg of the semi-final. I think we'd all have taken it before. You were saying, Sean, just before I came on, the walk along or the walk to the stadium or in the stadium, majority were saying 3-1, 3-1, 3-1. Yeah, obviously, we didn't want to concede, but we've got that result. That was the most... Okay, I was saying before, I think this game was more about the result than the performance, and that's what we got. We got the result we wanted. Like I said, that goal was an issue. If they score a goal early and at home, they're a different animal, and they have their players back. But you're all going on a trip now where we know we just don't need to lose. That's it.
Yeah, I've had to cancel my my deposit with Svetlana's pimp because I'm actually going to have to make it to the actual game because I was hoping that maybe it would be 5-0 and the game would be dead and I'd just be spending my time with some Olga. But turns out that's not the case, so I'm going to have to go and watch the game. But boys, I'm only joking. Boys, I want to ask you.
He's not joking. He's not joking.
I am joking. I did get a number of a Norwegian girl last night, though. She's not. I don't think she. I hope she's not. I said, "Are you in Bodo?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Can I buy you a drink?" She said, "A Bodo Glimmt? A Bodo drink?" I said, "Yeah, that sounds good." And anyway, there was some absolute smoke shows walking down the high road last night. Absolute smoke shows. Anyway, I want to get back to the football. Johnny Johnson. Let's talk about Johnson. Let's steer clear of Richie for a minute. Is Brennan Johnson's output good enough in Angie's mind that the lack of input, the lack of value elsewhere is something that you can tolerate because given the left, if the left side can create enough, you know he'll be in the right place at the right time to tuck it home?
Look, for me, Sean, this coach is what's wrong with the club, okay? If I was coaching Brennan Johnson now, I'd be turning around to him and say, look, Brennan, mate, your GA, fantastic, but you got to grow a pair of bollocks, right? I want you to take the players on. I don't care if you get taken down. I don't care if you get hacked. You have to be brave. Take them on, draw players in, get brought down, win free kicks, try to get to the byline, aka Aaron Lennon. You've got the pace. Now get the bollocks to go there and cross the ball, have an influence on the game. You can't be scoring a goal and then going MIA for the remaining 86 or 85 minutes. It happens game after game after game. I'm not going to slag a guy who keeps putting the ball in the net because that's what he does. But football is more about than just scoring the goal. We can't be carrying him for the remainder of the game other than putting the ball in the net. And like I said, I was discussing it with someone who was in football last night, and he needs to grow a pair and he needs to start taking players on. You know, you look at Odegaard and tell they're brave. They got more brave. They got more bravery in them. They take the players on. We need someone who's going to win a free kick. And, you know, and then Maddison then takes that free kick, crosses the ball into a dangerous area. That's what needs to be doing. So as a worst case scenario, you get brought down. In a best case scenario, you beat your man, you cross the ball and you create. And that's what he's not doing. It's infuriating. He's the most, you know, he's almost an enigma at times. You know, I have no words, but, you know, it's I'm very conflicted over it because how can you knock a guy that's got 24 GA, but at the same time isn't involved in most of the games?
Well, I think if you were like Mo Salah, where Mo Salah came out and said after they won the title, I spoke to the new manager and asked what it is that you want from me. And I said to him, if you remove my defensive role, if you remove my need to get back and help defensively, I'll give you the output. And that's what he did, right? And that's, you can make that decision if you have Liverpool squad.
Top coach. There you go.
Yeah, but you can make that decision as long as you accommodate that elsewhere. But we're not talking about a guy like Mo Salah doesn't just score goals. He's a threat. He's a terror. I don't think that Brennan Johnson is, not that I'm suggesting he is, but you can't put him in the same breath as Mo Salah with regards output, just because their numbers are like, I mean, Mo Salah's numbers are still miles better, but like Brennan Johnson needs to do more than he does. I can tolerate Brennan Johnson maybe not doing that much in the way of defensive work, as long as he was to do more with the ball. But he doesn't. He doesn't do any. He just always, you see it the same every time. It's down the right. He pulls it back, gives it to Porro, and Porro whips it in.
Let me tell you something, right? It's the manager, pure and simple. Look at Oliver Glasner. Look what happened with Mateta. He couldn't hit a barn door. Look at him now. Look what he's done with Adam Walton. Look what he's done with Lacroix at the back. Look what he's done with all of those players. He's improved them. That's what top coaches do. He takes something raw and he hones it and makes it into a precious diamond.
Okay, so has Ange told Brennan Johnson?
Ange has failed. Ange, in my opinion, has failed Brennan Johnson in the sense of the fact that, yes, it's all very well and good scoring the goals and having the assists, but you have to contribute throughout the rest of the game. How many Spurs fans out there...
He keeps playing him, Johnny.
I know, because he's a moron. So listen, now what I'm saying to you is do a 0, do a 1, do a 0, do a 1. How many people in this chat now believe that Brennan Johnson's biggest fault is he doesn't take players on? If he did, if fans could see he was taking them on and winning free kicks, the whole output, the whole way we look at it would change.
Ones and zeros. Does Johnson do enough? 1, yes, he does. Does his output?
Oh, no, we know he doesn't do enough.
Oh, sorry. Does his output justify his role? 1, yes. 0, no. I'll come to you, Lubo, before you. Whilst your internet's still there, mate, I'll come to you, and I'll come to Brian.
Yeah.
What do I think about Brennan Johnson? You might as well have taken him off
in the team. Yeah.
You might as well have taken him off yesterday after he scored. We played with 10 men. You know, if you brought in Brian Mbeumo, you get the finish and you get everything else as well.
Correct.
Sorry, Johnson is just not good enough. But the problem we've got, Sonny's God knows when he's back, but he's unfortunately on the way down. Werner, forget. Mikey Morey won't give a chance to. Tell and Odegaard are not ready. They may well be very good in a few years' time, but they're not good enough for the Premier League now. So for him, so what he should have done for me, the front three, I think personally, you play Solanke and Richie together. In fact, to me, I would play a 3-5-2 with Solanke and Richie up front. But that's too difficult for Ange to work out. You know, he's got wing backs in Porro and Udogie and Spence, and he's got two strikers, and he hasn't got any wingers, pretty much. So
you have to know with Ange, Ange likes to experiment in crucial moments when he shouldn't.
The problem is
because he hasn't prepared in the non. He's had plenty of non-relevant moments where he could have experimented but decided not to, and uses those as reasons to not carry on doing the things he does. You know.
Yeah, I mean, who plays Archie Gray at Liverpool instead of Tamworth? I mean, think about it. It's nuts, completely nuts. The guy is so out of his depth. It's tragic. Why? How did he finish up at our club? A manager that is that bad. You know, I follow Orient as my second team. I'd rather have Richie Wellens. He's so much better than Postecoglou. And unfortunately, look at the league position. And yesterday, you know, bring Dan So on, lock it up at 3-0, as I was saying before the phone went before. And Johnson, I don't know. The problem is he scores the goals, doesn't he? And he's our highest goal scorer. And scoring a goal is the hardest thing in the game. So you take your hat off to him for that, but he does nothing else. Zilch. And to me, he hasn't got the guts, he hasn't got the fire, he hasn't got the determination to get stuck in and you know, and dominate fullbacks. That's why, you know, you say grow a pair. He hasn't got I don't think he's got it in him to grow a pair.
But Ian, do you not think though, this is what I'm saying, a top manager would say to him, look, if you want to play in my team, mate, you got to grow a pair. Force him to grow a pair. Force him to take players on. Force him to get tackled and get elbowed. You know, that's what he needs to do to take his game to the next level. He's still very young. Sure. I mean, what, 23? He's still very young.
Come on, Johnny. You can't turn around. You know, Berghvall's young, Gray's young, Mikey Moore's young.
I'm not saying that. Listen, I'm no fan, as Brian will tell you, of Brennan Johnson. I'm just saying to you, this manager has not progressed any player. Berghvall has progressed himself. He hasn't progressed one player. I'm just saying, would a better manager who knew what he was doing get more out of Brennan Johnson? That's the only question I'm asking. Because like you, it's not enough what he's doing.
No, I think the answer is yes. I think a better manager will get more out of every single player in that squad.
Correct. Agreed.
Okay, first thing, a couple of things I'll say about Brennan Johnson. First of all, whether we like it or not, take away his 24 goal involvements, we're in a lot shitter situation than we currently are in. There's no doubt about it. Someone just said as well, and I'm not comparing them, Gary Lineker did F-all in a game, but turned up and put the ball in the back of the net and he'd be silent for ages. But obviously, different players, different type of football. But the other thing I will say, it's something Rhys Jagger said, and it's something that I've said as well. Or not, someone said it to me. If anyone watches on Savage Show sometimes or other shows on Nottingham Forest, I think it's called Forest TV, whatever his channel is, Wolfie. Wolfie, obviously, diehard Forest fan, always said, and he said the season we bought him, the problem we got with Brennan Johnson is that Forest, he plays counter-attacking football. And the way to get the best out of him is Forest would sit back, bang it up to Johnson. The first season they stayed up was through him. We then bring him in and then ask him to play a completely different brand of football. Should he have improved? Yes. Should he? Would I expect more of him when he's running down the line with his pace? Yes. But we bought him for playing very well in one style of football and then brought him in and asked him to play another. Now, the only way you get better in playing the new way is coaching. The coaching could have been better, but like I said, he's played in a position that wasn't his main position when he was attracted Tottenham Hotspur or Ange Postecoglou, whoever brought him in. Then we asked him to do something else, But the most important thing, like we said, for someone, and don't get me wrong, he doesn't bring anything really. Sometimes his defensive work has improved in a few games, but his output off the ball isn't the greatest. But without his 24 goal involvements, we would be in a very, very poor situation. So I think, again, maybe with another, like we said, maybe with another manager, maybe we get the best out of him. Maybe he plays him in a different position. But we need someone to seriously challenge him in that position, to come in and say, right, you're sitting on the bench now. This is how you do it, and get him to improve. But
Brian, just double check. We're talking about Brennan Johnson, yeah?
Yeah.
I had to leave the room for a second there. My argument or my question to you guys is, and I know how you guys all feel about Ange, and I obviously don't disagree with you. The fact that he's been doing this all season, the reason why I brought up Mo Salah is because Mo Salah explicitly said after the Tottenham game that he was given the role of not having to do other things so that he could focus on the output and that he would deliver. And he has, right? But his version of output is not just tap-ins at the back post. Yep. It's all-round, incredibly terrifying play. And my question to you is there something else going on there, regardless of how you feel about the manager? Is it by the manager's discretion? The fact that every Tottenham fan can see that Brennan Johnson doesn't track back for the most part, doesn't defend for the most part, doesn't do anything with regards, on the ball creativity, that he does what he does, and he's incredible output, and you can't take that away from him. But is Ange expecting more from him, but playing him and tolerating the lack of everything else because the output at the moment is the only thing that matters? Or is Ange happy with what Johnson does, in spite of the fact that to all Tottenham fans, every other winger in Tottenham's history that's been a prominent part of our story has been done what wingers need to do? I wonder whether are we criticizing the wrong guy here? Are we criticizing Brennan Johnson for a lack of output? But actually, the fact that he continues to do the same thing and continues to play, is that what Ange is asking of him? And if so, then is that okay, or is that like another demonstration of Ange's fallacy or lacking value? If you know what I mean.
Brian, do you want to go with this one? Or
no, you go, buddy. You go.
Right, listen, for me, you just summed it up there. Ange is very happy with his output because this is what he's asked him to do, and he's doing it, right? Hence the reason why every game we say, how was Brendan Johnson still on the pitch after 70 minutes? How was Brendan Johnson on the pitch after 80 minutes, 90 minutes? We keep asking ourselves the same question. And the answer is given to us every single week. It's like playing poker. When you make a bet to see if anyone comes over the top when you're playing poker, you got your answer. Well, we ask the same question. Everyone, how was Brennan Johnson still on the pitch? He was terrible other than the goal. Because the manager rates him. The manager thinks he's doing exactly what's asked of him. Right? I don't get it. I will never get it. Unfortunately, it's indicative of the quality of this manager and his lack of tactical nous and the ability, in my opinion, to coach players individually to improve them. He doesn't take coaching, Sean, right? He doesn't take coaching, right? He gets others to do it. He's not a hands-on coach like Glasner. Glasner has coached Eze to be in different positions on the pitch. He's coached Mateta. Look how Mateta has developed under that manager. Look how they've developed their game. Adam Walton, let's focus on what your best element is of that game. That's winning the ball back and delivering those crisp passes quickly. Look what he's done with Muniz, right? These are players he's asked for. The quiet players he's asked for and developed. We don't have any of that under this manager. He's 2 years in, and I don't see progression. I see regression. Forget we're making it to the final. If we win this tournament, it's despite Ange, not because of him. And if he's there next season, I honestly say, if he's there next season, I'm seriously going to have to consider going to any away games because I just don't think I can invest that much time spending hours and hours and hours on the road to watch his football anymore.
I think he's gone, Johnny.
Well, we can but hope.
I
And
think
you know
he's
what?
gone.
I'll wave him on, Ian. If he wins the title, if he wins that trophy, I'll say thank you very much. Goodbye.
Absolutely. Just drifting back very quickly on Brennan Johnson, two things. Firstly, if a player hasn't got that aggressive streak in him, in his character, he hasn't got it. He's just made a different way. And secondly, do you think Johnson will get anywhere near City, Liverpool or Arsenal?
No, but I think you can make the same argument for half, three-quarters of the team. So that's not something that we can isolate to Brennan Johnson. You know, would Rodrigo Bentancur get into Manchester City's team if?
I thought he had a good game last night, Sean Bentancur.
I thought he had a good game as well. I thought he had a good game against. I think he was still the only two chances that meant that Bodo had, the one that he scored and the one in the first half that got ballooned over the top. But that was Bentancur losing his man.
It deflected off of him. You can't blame him for that, can you?
No, I don't blame Bentancur for the goal, but the first chance that they had in the first half, where the player. He stole a march on Bentancur. Bentancur was sleeping, mate. Sleeping at the wheel on the penalty spot. And the guy comes in just to the right-hand side, drifts inside and gets the ball. He smashes it over the bar. A better player puts that top in. And that was Bentancur. All I've ever said about Bentancur is keep an eye on him when we do and we don't have the ball. And I'll be back 1 second. Sorry. Someone take.
Go on, Johnny. What do you want to talk about, Johnny?
Look, I honestly and truthfully, look, the thing is, guys, if you're watching this in the chat, it's not about being negative and not having any belief.
It's just one person in the chat, mate. It's just one person called Angie.
No, I'm just saying, I had it in my feed after the game. You know, I'm positive. If I wasn't positive, I wouldn't have booked Bodo. I wouldn't have already booked Berghvall. You know, it's all we're doing here. Like Brian and I have said right from the word when we started Angie Management. You know, we're here to break down each game, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the game, and yes, we were happy. Yes, the atmosphere was great. Yes, we should have won. But that last goal needs to be discussed because it puts a different complexion on the final final game, because we've seen Lazio, Roma, Olympiacos, and many other teams, including Celtic, were beaten on that plastic pitch, and they will have their players back. So it has to be discussed. But we are a multi-million-pound football club, and there can be no excuses. I don't want to hear we go to a plastic pitch and it's a little bit more difficult. Just the same as going to bloody Tamworth and nearly being humiliated.
That's what worries me more, right? Like the only experience Tottenham have this season, and for most, with plastic pitches that we can really reflect on, is Tamworth. And Bodo are far better than Tamworth, and yet we couldn't beat Tamworth over 120 minutes, Johnny.
I know, it was embarrassing. And let's be honest,
90 minutes,
in that 93rd minute, my heart was in my mouth when that ball ran into the box and that guy went to kick the ball in the net but miskicked it, right? Because that would have been our greatest defeat since 1912. We can't afford... Listen, this club, as Brian will tell you, and Ian will tell you, is riddled with humiliation over the last few years in Europe. This cannot be another name to go on our tombstone of death in these competitions, right? We have to overcome it. There will be no shame in losing to Manchester United in the final. If we do, I believe we can go on and win it. But there's shame. There is shame and ridicule should we not overcome them next week.
Do you think we will overcome them, Johnny?
I think we have to. Whatever happens.
No, not have to. Will we?
I booked the final, Sean, I believe.
No, I know. I booked the final in January before we even got past AZ Alkmaar. So, like, I believe as well. And again, it's mainly one person in the chat whose name is Angie. who's just rinse repeating the same. I hear you, Angie, and you're not happy with our take on it. It's fine. I get it. Yeah. It must be early in the morning. It must be late at night over in Melbourne or wherever you are. But like to me, Brian.
Yes.
Let's move away from the game now, because I think we can all agree, right? We can all agree that it was the result is good. We got I wouldn't say 1 foot. We got a toe in the final, but it obviously it finished with a dampener. Brian, are we going to get there? And how do we set up and structure? And what do we do? We've got West Ham on Sunday. Do we rest everybody and just play whoever's not going to participate next Thursday? Do we rest do we play everybody else?
You're looking at. I've been watching the chat. Berghvall, apparently Ange just confirmed Berghvall is out for the season, so it weren't just talk. Wow. Apparently Ange just confirmed it now. So I think what we've got to look at, obviously, I didn't know what Johnny was saying about Richarlison with the breathing, the face mask. So hopefully that is just something he needs to go through. He has been playing a lot more regularly since coming back without picking up an injury. Maddison, I saw in the chat, has gone for a scan. So that's another thing. We've got to look at this. I mean, I've seen people saying we should play a heavily changed side, but we don't know with Solanke as well. I think he does need to give a few people a rest. Do you know what? I'd actually like to see Kinsky in goal against West Ham, give him some minutes, because since Vicario's been back, and obviously he can't play European football, he's just been getting splinters, hasn't he? I think we do. You'll see Spence. I will say just one more thing on the game. Porro, who has come in for a lot of stick. But I love Pedro Porro. I think he's brilliant. I think we're playing him. I'd love to see him further forward, but obviously his defensive play has been an issue, but there's no doubt in his ball playing abilities. And it's good to see maybe this chopping and changing and rotating with Spence is helping Porro get back to what he was. But yeah, I think we are going through. I wanted to go with 4 goals, but I think Spurs will we'll get through. I think it'll be a nervy game, but I think we're through. But West Ham, I think we've got to rotate, haven't we? We've got to rotate. And maybe some other players could put in a massive performance.
We clearly can't risk any injuries. Like if we got 3 potential injuries last night, and then the training ground with Berghvall, which by the way is devastating news, he'll be absolutely gutted about that. Yeah, but as will all the fans. But
I'll tell you what, Sean. Let's put it this way. If you were to say there's 5 or 6 definite starters let's pretend we're Ange kind of thing. As you're looking at it, if you had 6 players that you knew in your starting lineup, Sean, that are definitely starting away in Norway, who are the 6 you're picking to say, right, you're resting for the day?
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, I mean, Vicario is unlikely to get injured. I mean, if I'm entirely honest, I haven't seen the goal that they scored in the replay yet. But and if it was a deflection, then fair enough. But
it was.
What I worry about with Vicario and our defence generally is that it takes one chance, to score against us, and that's the problem. But yeah, look, against West Ham, I'm more than happy to see Danso come in. I'm more than happy to see Ben Davies come in. I'm more than happy for, Jed Spence. Even though I'd actually make the argument, I didn't think Destiny Udogie was superb last night, and I think that and Pedro Porro, I'd make the argument you bring in Pedro Porro for, bring in Jed Spence for Pedro Porro, and you bring in, maybe to be honest, the last thing that you could possibly want is injuries, and it looks like we picked up a few knocks last night, so you don't risk that against West Ham. And you know what? West Ham are the sort of little scoundrels that they are, would probably take a hell of a lot of pleasure in being very, very aggressive against us. So on that basis, you factor that in and you go, we don't care. Obviously, for West Ham, it's important to finish above Tottenham. I get it. The league form is horrendous. But ultimately, bigger picture stuff, right? For me, you can imagine West Ham being super aggressive because they know that we're not going to go into any tackles. So therefore, you play the players that aren't going to play. We'll deal with Man United if we get there, when we get there. But in terms of Sunday, I think that everybody comes off the pitch, because I can see West Ham being nasty and dirty and trying to scupper our own season, Brian.
So do you see, let's have a look. I mean, someone like Bissouma, who I was surprised to see in the starting lineup, but afterwards, I think it was man of the match. For me personally, I thought he was brilliant. If you're looking at this now, do you think, right, I want to give you another game to make sure you can keep that standard up, or do you say you play so well, I'm going to rest you? And
I think if Berghvall's out, then where do we go? Right, you obviously play Benson in the 8.
Isn't there?
Pape Sarr will play.
Pape Sarr or
West Ham, you mean, Johnny?
All you have to choose from now for that Bodo game is in the 6 is Sarr. Or you put Bentancur in the 6, you put Sarr in the 8, or you keep Bentancur in the 8, and which he's far better in the 8. He's not on the same level, but that conversation that I saw Arsenal AFTV having regarding was it right to play Declan Rice in the 6 because Partey was out, and a lot of people were playing like Monday morning quarterback saying no, they should have played him in the 8 and brought in someone else. But like Bentancur's better in the 8 than the 6, in my opinion. But then if you know that there's no Berghvall, then you have Sarr, you have Gray, and you have Bissouma to choose from. And let's be entirely honest, as much as we all love Archie Gray, after the performance against Liverpool on Sunday, I don't think you can risk that. I don't think you can do that again. So like, not yet. Like, I'm not suggesting that writing him off, but I just don't think that you can go there. And so for me, you either pick Bentancur in the 6 again, of which I think he's vulnerable defensively and off the ball positionally, or you play him in the 8 and you play Bissouma behind it. And I feel more confident with Bissouma and Bentancur than I do with Bentancur and Sarr, because I think that Sarr gives the ball away sloppy. And if he can't keep the ball and get it to where it needs to go on a pitch that he's familiar with, then how likely is he to give the ball away with the unfamiliarity of a 4G pitch?
We'll be playing against West Ham without any creative midfielder. Okay, this is what's going to happen, right? So for me, you play Pape Sarr, you play Bissouma, and you play Archie Gray in the middle, right? Okay, because there's strength. No MIA Maddison in the middle, not being able to make a challenge. I also got a player in our squad, in case anyone's forgotten, called Micky Moore, right, who can play on the wing, okay? And we've also got Jed Spence. But the question I want to ask is, when we beat Bodo on the 11th, we will have only 10 days before the final. 10 days. We were going to be playing on that plastic.
No, it's the week after, isn't it?
10 days.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It's the next week, isn't it?
It's 21. It's 10 days. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We will have 10 days between.
No, we play Bodo on the Thursday, the 9th.
Sorry,
it's 13 days. 13 days.
Right, 13 days. Right, 13 days. Okay, beg your pardon. Right, but those 13 days, we will be playing on that plastic pitch, which always exacerbates an injury. We had it at Bodo after Tamworth. The other thing is, Man United have already negotiated to play on the Friday night before the final on the Wednesday. Okay, Aston Villa
play on the Saturday, have we, or the Sunday?
Aston Villa have refused to change their date, and they will be playing on the Sunday. Now, here's the conundrum, right? Will the rest of the Premier League force Aston Villa to change that game to the game to give us an equal opportunity? Because otherwise, Manchester United will have 48 hours advantage playing that. So we would have to field basically our kids. Now, we know what will happen. We'll get a massive fine from the FA. Aston Villa will sail through and potentially go to a Champions League spot at the expense of someone else. It needs to be balanced out. So the Premier League need to get up off of their arses and force Aston Villa, should we get through to that final, to make that game on the Friday the same night as the Man United game. Forget TV.
Johnny, do you know the one thing I will say with that? Obviously, that works in our favour as Spurs fan, but if you do this, it's going to open a huge can of worms. Why didn't you do this for every other team that's got to a final beforehand? I think just like Holland has done, I think the Premier League need to come out at the beginning of a season and say, right, if a team is getting into the latter stages of Europe, we're going to have the authority to start moving games around to try and support them. Because if you do this now for Tottenham, and you haven't done it,
United. Sure, I hear you, Brian, but they've done it for United.
Have they?
Well, they have. they moved
No, I
the
didn't
game
know.
on Friday.
Yeah, but it
I didn't
can't
know.
be. It can't be at the behest of the clubs.
Yeah, it's got to be.
To the notion. It has to be. Sorry, my camera's over here.
So you think we should be in the final? So you think we should be in the final of a major European title in Europe? They move fixtures or they accommodate.
You know, because we're playing Manchester United. If we get there, mate, you know what's going to happen.
If it was the other way round, Shaw, you know darn well that fixture will be moved.
Of course, but it isn't the other way round. It's the way round that it is, and the world wants Manchester United to be back at the top, mate, because they're the ones that, right?
Correct.
So, yeah.
The world.
I don't expect and Aston Villa, by the way, are slowly becoming my most hated team. I hate them more than I hate the other claret and blue clowns in West Ham, and I feel like that they are becoming a threat. They're becoming a nuisance. And I'm starting to dislike them as much as I dislike the rest of them.
Because they circumvent the rules, and we know how they're doing it, Sean. We keep bringing it up, and they're just about to do it again this summer. 96% of their...
Well, I will say this to you, mate. They've always got... they're not worried about 96%. And guess what happens yesterday? Oh, the geezer from Jamaica, whose name I forget. Ollie, what's his name? Bailey. Yeah. Oh, he's subject to a £100 million bid from Saudi Arabia, is he? Oh, and Emi Martinez is going to go for £100 million, is he? Oh, wait, shock horror. Have we seen that before? Yes, we did. We saw it last summer with what's his name? The other guy who went
Duran.
John Duran. It's a madness.
Yeah, well, let's play over the odds. And what you're going to say that he's not worth it. What we're going to do is we're going to sell to our mates in Saudi Arabia who are going to get us out of trouble and balance our books for FFP and PSR. It's a joke. And it's going on right in the front of everybody, and no one's doing anything about it.
We'll be doing a video on that one for sure on Football Inc. In the coming hours or days. Guys, listen, I think Lubo's finally giving up the goose. He can't. He 17 attempts.
I reckon he's on the way to... I think he's on a cross-channel ferry on the way to Oslo, probably.
Yeah, he's trying to get there. He wants to be there. Look, to me, fair play to Lubo for the effort, mate. It didn't work out, but if you come back,
I'll be with Lubo at West Ham. We're going to West Ham, so I'm prepared to be walking out that stadium as I have done 23 times.
I don't care about West Ham. I cared about.
I don't want to lose those, Sean. I don't
care. I do not care about the effort. I don't care what happens. I couldn't give a shit. If we lose 4-0, I'm not going to come out and do a post-match press conference. A post-match...
You'll do a press conference, Sean.
Yeah, no,
Fancy.
I'm not going to come out doing a post-match fan cam saying it's a disgrace that we lost 2-0. I really don't care. I don't care about that. Against Liverpool, Lubo's back for one more. He's not giving up. He's Lubo. Fair play to him. Lubo, whilst I have you, let me bring you in, mate. We're talking about now, I guess the kind of the chicanery that's going on in and around the Premier League. Aston Villa not moving their fixture. Tottenham Hotspur having to play on the Friday, on the Sunday. United getting their fixture moved. Is there an element of like shenanigans there in your mind, or is that just Aston Villa being typically difficult because they see us as a threat and they also have their own ends at play here?
Well, so long as they move Man United and we've got a level playing field, I don't care. But otherwise,
Man United are playing on the Friday. They've already moved Man United.
Well, the Premier League should turn around to Villa and say, sorry, if Spurs reach the final, the game's on a Friday night. End of.
That's
Finished.
what I agree with.
Yeah.
Let the Premier League grow some balls.
They won't. Well, they have done. They will. They're always going to help United above Tottenham. It's just the way it works. Lou, but let me ask you this though. West Ham on Sunday. I know Johnny was saying you boys are both going.
Yeah.
Do you give a shit about the game? And given that we have injuries from last night and the pitch that we got to play against the next Thursday, and the stakes couldn't be higher, are you of the mindset that you're even if we lose 3-0 when we play kids? Are you of the mindset that it doesn't? It's literally irrelevant apart from £3 million in merit points and also the pride of finishing above West Ham.
It's the result. Listen, it's all about Thursday night, isn't it? Really. to be fair. Am I
But you
bothered?
don't
Yes.
come
Do I
out
want to win?
losing,
Of course
do
I
you?
want to win. I want Spurs
Yeah.
to win every game.
Exactly.
Can
yeah,
you hear
but
me?
of course.
Can you hear me now?
But are you going to go
want-
apoplectic, Lubo, in a world where we don't win?
No. As long as no one gets injured. You know, West Ham would like to be playing in a semi-final in Europe on Thursday. Is my answer.
I just worry that West Ham are going to be overly aggressive in the game.
Maybe. Then you've got to hope for a strong ref, haven't you? Let them have 2 or 3 red cards. Listen, West Ham want the season to end league-wise as much as we do. You know,
Yeah, but they want to finish
their
above
fans have
us.
had enough. But does it really matter? If we come away from Bilbao with a trophy, who cares if West Ham finished above us? Doesn't really matter, does it?
100%. Only to Daniel and his £30 million difference between 7th and 17th.
Oh, it's a wonderful segue, mate. Last little segment for you then, right? I know that this conversation's obviously been received by the chat as being overly negative, but we're not. We're just, the stakes couldn't be higher. We're positive. We all think we're going to make it to the final.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see more last night. I thought there was an opportunity there to destroy the tie, and we didn't take it. I think that there is some accountability there. Injuries are a problem, but I do want to ask you this, guys. I've got 3 major Levy outers on the stream, and on this particular conversation, I don't know if you guys watch my every video, but you will have probably noted that over the last month or so, I've been increasingly curious / slanderous about the decision making, and I believe that whole story that Matt Law put out regarding sell to buy, I think it's a BS narrative that is coming from the top, from the club. It's you scratch my back now. We'll give you the narrative. We'll give you the message. You put this out, and it will prepare the football club prepare the fans of the football club for a quiet summer. I don't buy it for a second. I think that we have money. The fact that Tottenham bid £70 million on deadline day for Mark Gahey, and then all of a sudden we're crying poor. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all, especially when you look at the numbers last year when we had the fewest games in the club's history, no European football, and we were only 4% down on revenue relative to the year before when we were in the Champions League. I just do not buy it. I can understand that the logic around cash flow is different to profitability, but I don't buy it. And I want to know what you guys think. I'm going to give you the floor. As Levy Outers, you're more than welcome to say what you want to say on the channel. But yeah,
I'll go first.
When Brian does this,
Sean, you're lucky you're lucky I don't play poker because you take me for all I've got. Go on, Ian. Go on.
Oh.
What do I think?
Whoever wants to go.
Go on, Luke.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Come on, ET.
I'll tell you what was going through my mind yesterday before the game, when the flags were going, the singing was loud. I actually wondered, does this mean a thing to the chairman? Does he actually feel anything like the fans do? It's just, or is this just?
I don't think you can be there 25 years and feel nothing.
No,
I
Sorry,
Can I just say to you,
Lubo, mate, you I can't do this for the benefit of the viewers, mate. I can't do this.
I think you've saved him, Sean, because he's driving with his phone, mate. There'd be some horrible person that would report him.
He's bad, mate. I'll tell you what, Ian,
if we're still going in 15 minutes, mate, come back to us, buddy. I can't. I just, it's
Ian really is. He's really taking Angie's "We Never Stop" to a whole new level on this stream.
All right, you know what? So, Ian, come back in, mate. Sorry, it's just a disaster. I wanted to get him back on and let him have the floor to say what he wanted, but from the background noise the interruptions with the Wi-Fi and the delays on it when he has got access. It's just been a nightmare.
See in the background there, Sean, that will be you in Bodo, isn't it? That's what you're looking for, isn't it? Happily ever after?
Happily ever after, mate. I'll be content ever after if we just get the victory. That's all I want. Let me ask you again. Sorry, go on, Brian. About Daniel Levy, about the club right now. Is this whole buy to sell or sell to buy thing? I think it's all bullshit. I think it's massive bullshit.
So first of all, I just want to say hello to Aussie Ange. Aussie Ange is someone that comes into all streams and is very pro Ange Postecoglou, but is always pleasant and jokey, and I got a lot of time, whoever he is. So he always makes me smile. So it's good to see Aussie Ange in here. I'm obviously, people will know this ain't my first rodeo when it comes to Summers and what I think Daniel Levy's going to do or what he's pretending to do. And then we look this way, he goes that way. What I will say is when we hired I can't remember his full name, Vinay, the Arsenal CEO, I was my blood was boiling, but my blood was boiling because of his Arsenal connections. Then, obviously, I looked a bit more into him, and people look at it and say, do you know what? He did very, very well at Arsenal, developing where they are now. And a lot of people look at it the other way and say he left and then they progressed. But the reason they progressed is for the work that he'd done behind the scenes.
Correct.
And then the more and more and more you look into him and the more and more you read into him, you see that he has got connections in high places. He is someone that will, whether it comes to investment or whatever, he's a bigger catch with bigger friends and bigger client, let's just say acquaintances than a Scott Mum. Then you look at it and it looks like Paratici is coming in. And it does look like that is developing further. And they want, from what I'm hearing, Mun, Lange and Ange out. Whichever way you look at it, whether you're pro Ange Postecoglou or not, the new setup want a complete rip out and rebuild and start again. Do I think this sell to buy is nonsense? I want to say I don't want to believe that it is, but we've been down here before. But again, a lot of it depends on, do we get to the final? Do we win the Champions League? Are we back in Europe? There's a lot. You mentioned the Mark Guehi one. The Mark Guehi deal was the biggest, at least we tried.com, because we went to the club, not the player. It was such a, I can't see how we can be a sell to buy. We're like a Sean, and Terry O'Shea retweeted your thing with the companies. And as you know, Sean, you'll know this, and I always say, when it comes to the finances and where they are and what we've got and how we can spend it, I am pretty much clueless. Never confessed to being a financial one that understands the numbers perfectly and the pros and the cons, whatever. I think it could be a red herring. So, like, people know we've got 200, 300, 400, whatever XYZ, and people already know it, then obviously people are going to start preparing it. I think this summer is we always hear this, don't we? This is the summer for Spurs. This is the big summer for Spurs. And personally, I think it's a massive summer for Spurs, but I don't think I'm not thinking that in the way of spending money. Whether we do or whether we don't, I haven't got a clue. But I think there's going to be a structural change at Tottenham this summer.
Yeah, go on.
And we'll see where that... sorry, Joe, I'm just going to wrap up now. And then that may lead to bigger spending or the investment we all want coming in from wherever it may be. So I think it's a bigger summer for Spurs off the pitch with what might go on up the top and throughout the club than obviously the money we spend. So that's where I am at the moment. I think it's a bigger summer for Spurs to get all their ducks in a row off the field, especially if they're trying to attract investment to go buying the better players and spending the bigger money and paying the bigger wages than it is on the pitch this summer.
Can I just say, Sean, because I'm going to need to go, mate.
We'll run up
well said, Brian. I just wanted to say, look, I've said this now for a number of weeks. Cherrington coming in to the board, the former head of Citibank, and his investment, his background with private equity, mergers and acquisitions, and Vinny coming in with his background. And listen, don't be fooled by Arsenal fans, right? I said as soon as it came out, this is a fantastic appointment. His background, what he's done with the development of the women's team, the bringing in the finance, his involvement. He was involved with Edu and Arteta, right? To say he had no involvement is absolute rubbish. And the thing is, when he left Arsenal, he had lots of offers from Saudi Arabia, private equity, and in America. And by Vinny and Cherrington coming on board, it gives massive credibility to the financial acumen of that board. And if you are an investor, whether it be private equity or a state fund, you can invest there knowing full well that these guys know exactly what they're doing. And I think that's exactly what's going to go on, because the projects that Daniel has right now are massive capital investment projects, like the hotel, White Webs, and the training ground complex. And they need to be funded. It's as simple as that. They're part of the growth project of the club. And for that to happen, it needs investment, cash investment. And to go to a bank right now is too expensive. So this makes absolute sense for this to happen. So I can see a situation where we all know right now we've got around 200 million FFP PSR headroom. And if an investor comes in right now, they can divert a proportion to exploit that 200 million, whilst at the same time providing the capital for these projects to take us forward. So I believe that something is afoot, and I believe that the combination of Vinay and Fabio Paratici will return us where we should be. Now, the thing is the speed. If we win the title, if we win this title, we're going there very quickly. If we don't, it's going to take a couple of years, obviously. But believe me, having started to go back up to where we were, when recruiting the Kulus, the Bentancurs, the Romeros, whatever you may think of them, they are players that when they come to sell them, they are an asset for this club. Whereas we've spent the last 10 years having players, other than a couple of freaks of Kane, Modric and Bale, where we don't get any money for our sales. So I think we're on a good path if these guys come in. Listen, guys, I'm going to have to shoot. It's been a pleasure.
I got a round off too. I want to give Lubo last crack. Sorry, Lubo.
See you on Sunday, Brian. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Always a pleasure, brother. We'll catch up
Johnny.
Johnny.
I'm going to give Lubo last crack, mate. Nightmare,
last
buddy.
crack.
Sorry, boss.
Yeah,
it's been a difficult stream, but
yeah, it has been horrendous. I've thanks for bearing with me.
You in Epping Forest now?
No, I'm not. I'm outside my house with Wi-Fi, with a phone that's not overheating either. So and now the show's finished, unfortunately. Sean, I read your tweets about the finances, and I spoke to one or two people, and the answer was that came back, well, you're not going to have any more rows with Sean on podcasts because he's leaving out now.
I'm not leaving out. I'm not leaving out. But I'm leaving out if we sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'm leaving out. If we sign him, I'm leaving out. But what I am is I've always been, just to remind everybody, I've always been seeking truth and balance. And those that don't know me, who only ever see me on third-party channels, when I'm rolled out to debate Brian or to debate you, Lubo, when Levy's under the spotlight, I don't disagree with your stances inherently. I just disagree with this notion that the buck stops at the top when everything's negative, but the buck doesn't stop at the top when everything's positive. And if Daniel Levy wins if Tottenham win the Europa League, I would expect you guys, who I respect in the community, to be able to, if you abide by the buck stops at the top motif, I'd expect you guys to be able to give credit like you criticise for the things that happen on the football pitch. I would expect the same vein. And if you don't do those things, not just you two, but anyone else, then I will always hold you accountable to those to the inconsistencies in the logic. That's all I've ever been as a content creator, is the seeker of logical consistency. And had I seen a wildly disproportionately, backing of Daniel Levy that didn't hold up to logic, I would be calling that shit out as well. But as far as my own opinion, I don't care what Daniel Levy, whether he's the owner or not. I don't care. I never have. I don't care if we have someone new. Just show me what that looks like, and we can chew it over when we see it. But people that think that I'm Levy in because I'm not, how I don't feel the same way you guys do, it's a wild misrepresentation of what I stand for. And
it was what you pointed out, Sean. You saw about the 90 million that he spent on property in the last year. 1 year, 2 years. That 90 million could have bought 2 or 3 real quality players that our squad this year was crying out for. But it was spent on property, whatever property that was. And we're not talking about
three of those subsidiaries didn't even report their cash balances, so it could be much larger than what is known. And when I see that data, I would be doing myself. I would be incongruent to my own relationship with logic and fact if I didn't call that out. But people then go, "Oh, Sean's a flip flop." I'm not a flip flop. I'm just literally I'm delivering fact. That's all I ever do is say, when I hear people say, speak from heart, speak from emotion, which I get, football's an emotional thing. But when I hear the two of you or Johnny or anyone else, when you speak from emotion, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll let you have your say. But then if you say things that are inconsistent with logic, then I would say, okay, let's just challenge that. But that doesn't mean that I don't agree with the things that you fundamentally think. It's just, I think it's right that we should hear both sides of the story. And there's very few people in the community that are willing to defend Daniel Levy because they care more about their ego or their brand or whatever it is. They want to go whichever, they're weather vanes, right? They point whichever way the wind is. I'm not interested in any of that shit. And so if I see information like that MCO Insights presented, which I now know to be true, I didn't know at the time. I was like, I'll let it. I'll say it, but I'll caveat. I don't know. Now I've now looked into it. It is true. There is that much cash out there. All right, that's got to be shared. That has to be shared. I want people to know the facts, not the opinions. You can have your opinions, but the facts need to be heard as well. So I'm not. People then go, "Oh, Sean's now Levy out." No, I'm just saying this is information that you might not know. Have it. Let's digest it. Let's chew it over. That's all I do. That's all I ever want to do.
Mm-hmm. So now listen, it's you work on. You're allowed. You're not a flip flop if you change because facts change. Because facts of what's happened have changed and moved goalposts in terms of how he's running the club. I just think that they were quite honest when they first started, and they said they're looking at football as a vehicle to make money because it is an investment company.
They didn't say that at Tottenham, though, did they? They said that when they were involved in Rangers, right?
No, there was no club mentions. Sean.
There was no club mentions. But when that article came out, it was during their tenure with Rangers, not during their. So there's no club mention, but those quotes are from when ENIC had involvement in Rangers, not Spurs.
Okay, well, listen, I have to then look at it and then say, okay, does that do those comments made during their Rangers tenure
Possibly.
still stack up for me over what I've seen in 24 years?
Correct. Probably. Yeah, probably.
And
I'm just saying the facts are that they didn't say that as Tottenham owners. They said it. They were not Tottenham owners. But yeah, it doesn't mean that that narrative still doesn't exist. And I think that you could make the argument that it does still exist. And that's fine. And that's why I'm more than okay with the new owner coming in. But when I look at the numbers, when I look at the club, when I look at what I've seen from other owners, I don't want private equity. I do not want us to get in bed with an American company. I don't. On that same show, when I brought up the MCO Insights thing, I also brought up an article that was looking into multi-club ownership, a different article about multi-club ownership, and there was a bunch of quotes from an array of different educators or advisors of multi-club ownership models, And they all said that the same narrative is always true with Americans who want to come in, that are PE guys. And they all say the same thing. I want to get in, but what's my exit? And I don't want a guy who looks at us like he's a trading vehicle. I don't want someone who wants to throw debt on the club and then use us as a mechanism to make more money. Now, maybe we already have that, but that doesn't mean that the next thing isn't going to be worse. And so, like I say, I'm happy with the idea of new as long as I know what new looks like. And then when we do, we can chew it over as fans. We can chew it over. It doesn't mean that I expect everyone to agree with me, but at least let's not just assume that new or different is better, because that's not the case. And there is, a number of examples. Are Manchester United fans really that happy with Sir Jim Ratcliffe? I would say no.
Is the United situation though, Sean? Is he telling the truth where he said that if he hadn't have come in and start making sort of culling the staff, etc., and making cuts, he said we could have been going bust, or in a serious financial situation.
It's a load of shit, mate.
By the end of this year,
shit. That is absolutely. When he said we have no money, we were going to shut up shop in December. Come on, what are we doing here? You have majority owners that have taken out £1 billion or whatever it is in dividends over the last 20 years. And what, we're going to shut up shop on Manchester United?
I mean, they're paying
take away the Christmas bonuses of 1,000 stewards.
I know.
It's mad. I know.
I was talking about what he said as a bottom, as a headline. I think what he's done is he's upset a lot of people in United. An awful lot of people. We've got a lot of friends up there who know people, and it's.
I'm so sorry. I've got to take this call. I'll let you guys round off, and I'll end the stream when you guys want to end it, and then I'll just close
ready
it.
When you are, Sean. Ready when you are.
We're ready.
We're ready, bro.
We're
Wrap it up.
All right, we'll leave it there. Yeah, one second, mate. 1 second. Yeah, we'll leave it there, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, take care.
Speak to you later.